Yeah. Okay, so I have hit record, so we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody. We have Alex with us from Innovative Educators, and so I'm going to let her introduce herself. You may have met her in our previous webinar talking about the other services that they offer, but this one is extra special, talking about AI, and I know that's a big topic for us to all get our students on board with understanding how to best utilize it, both technically and ethically. So I will let her take it away. Thanks for being here, Alex.
Yeah, thank you all. And I'm hoping this can be conversational throughout. So if you have, feel free to come off mute or, chat into the chat box. But yes, I'm Alex Pecoraro, and I've worked at Innovative Educators for about 8 years now. Before that, I worked in higher education. So I was a first generation college student, but I did go on to get my master's degree. And my master's is in college student development. So I worked on a college campus for about 10 years before I came and worked for Innovative Educators. Innovative Educators is a woman-owned small business. We're based in Colorado, and we do have a partnership with Oregon Trio Association, which I'll be sharing some more information on a little bit later. But we've been doing a lot of work, Innovative Educators, this year on artificial intelligence and, just making sure that we're staying ahead of the curve, both for our students and for educators that kind of work within the field of higher education and, high schools and things of that nature. So my session today is really kind of discussing where we are in the landscape of artificial intelligence, and really kind of getting a sense for if students are AI ready. So I'd love to kind of kick us off if you want to share kind of what brought you to today's session. And I'd love to hear just a little bit about what some of your experiences are so far with your students using AI. And let me know if you're college or pre-college, just so, us and the folks listening to the recording have that context.
Well, I'm here because I've gone to a few other sessions about AI, and I feel like it is like the next thing to know about. So I haven't I'm a college SSS program, so I don't have classes yet. I have talked with some students individually about it, but I haven't seen it play itself out in the classroom yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, curious. I know you may not see it kind of coming out. I know some institutions have developed policies for AI. Some have kind of like a zero tolerance. You can't even use it. And then others, have some stuff out there. Oh, I see a chat. I'm glad to be here. But a few students are camping out in my, okay, yeah, yeah. Well, you can listen later. No big deal. Well, let me know if you have other different experiences. It's kind of crazy, but ChatGPT has actually been around for almost 2.5 years now. Kind of crazy to think. In some ways, it feels like it just came on the scene. And others, as we see all the different kind of AI tools now out there, which is just like a little tip of the pen, if you will. There's hundreds and hundreds of AI tools out there now that can be, graphics, text, etc. But when we're thinking about how, artificial intelligence, I'm really kind of honing in on that generative AI. So whether it is creating text or images or different things like that. So kind of crazy. One of the exciting things, but also scary things, is that we really don't know how this is going to go. So we don't know if AI is going to be a great thing that happened to education, or if it's going to be, oh my gosh, how did we get here? But what I've seen so far is that the tool can be super powerful in terms of being a personal assistant, helping us get things done faster. And so I personally am really excited for kind of the direction that it's going. Wanted to provide some data. This came out, in fall of 2023, so about a year ago. And so I thought it was kind of interesting, you know, half of students identify that they are regular, and this is in higher education, regular AI users, whereas 75%, you know, basically are continuing to use AI, even though they have some restrictions. And then only about 25% of higher education faculty were regularly using AI about a year ago. And I'll be curious to kind of see, you know, what Titan Partners comes out with this year with their latest AI research. But I just thought this was nice context to know that we definitely know folks are using it, especially students. And so, you know, it is something that looks like it's out there. This is a higher ed faculty survey. So despite that we're seeing that kind of high use there, you know, we have basically 3 reasons that instructors are not using it, and then 3 factors where they're considering using it. And so a lot of faculty and staff are saying, you know, we're just not quite sure. How do we use it? Why would we use it? You know, we don't know enough about it. It's intimidating. No one's really showed me how to use it. And then some of the reasons that they're considering using it is because, you know, they thought they've seen like a little bit and they've seen that it could be this effective tool. And that it's reliable in terms of they've used it a little bit and all of that good stuff. I see some chat, so I'm going to go over here, Cassie. Okay, a guest presenter, we had encouraged students to use it to help them build their LinkedIn profiles, but to use it as a starting or ending point, not to create the whole thing for them. Students were confused since the school tells them not to use it for their papers. Yeah, so kind of that students are confused. They're getting mixed messages. How do we use it? You know, all of that good stuff. I would love to take a poll from the audience on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being like, I haven't even used generative AI. I haven't even used it, to 5 being like, oh, I'm a daily user. I know what it is. I'm using it quite a bit. It would be great if people could chat in. I'm very curious what the level of expertise is in the room. Okay, we got 2, 2, 2, 1, 5. Oh, everyday. I see an everyday AI user. Fun. Okay, 2 to 3, and then 4. Okay, great. I'm an everyday user. I'll self-disclose since you all were vulnerable and told me your AI use. I use it all the time. And the way that I use it primarily is to help me get tasks done more quickly. I use it personally a lot too. So not even in my work life, you know, if any of you have family stuff like I have, sometimes I have it write my family text messages. So that's a hot tip for you um, when things get crazy. But yeah, I think that what I would encourage you to do is Innovative Educators has a ton of free training on AI. And if you want to just, you know, kind of dip your toe in, there's some great stuff there. I think we have one specifically for Trio, and it's about 15 minutes that you can view. So it's free. It's on our website, innovativeeducators.org. But it is pretty intimidating unless you have someone to kind of walk you through how to do it and how to use it. In terms of students, though, again, you know, we're just seeing that, you know, they are using it. You know, the majority are using it somewhat. And, you know, that's kind of doesn't really, you know, kind of cut itself out based on what area they're in, whether they're STEM, arts and humanities. You know, we kind of see that students are using it across the board. And this came from Inside Higher Ed. They had a survey just about how AI is impacting students' career choices. But what we do know for sure is that about 75% of employers want their employees to be AI proficient. So, you know, it's very confusing because high schools are saying, no, don't use it. Colleges are hit or miss, you know, maybe we'll have it, maybe we won't. We're not going to educate students necessarily on how to use it, but maybe they can use it. But we know that the majority of employers are saying, you know, this is going to be a necessary 21st century skill. This is something that our students, when they become employers, they need to have because it's moving so quickly. And then this last one is just the idea that, you know, students agree that they want to use it and they're going to use it regardless. but 51% of college students agree that using AI is cheating. And it's kind of sad to see that the majority of students think that, because there's so many ways to use AI. I use it with my nephew at home on his homework for high school all the time. He's a freshman, you know, but there's sort of me, the regulator, being like, you write that paper. Okay, let's have ChatGPT take a look at that. What kind of tips would it give you to improve it? Not to rewrite it, but to improve the paper. And so we use it all the time, and it's great to have him using it and kind of learning in that way. But you know, it can be so powerful, and it definitely doesn't have to be cheating. Yeah, 75% of users said they use it even if it was banned, and then 60% of students basically have said that nobody has taught them how to use it, what it looks like to use it, you know, ethically, responsibly. And then 31% of students are saying that it is prohibited by their honor code. So, you know, lots of things kind of coming out there. But what we do know is that students want to learn. And what I thought was interesting is that about 72% of students said that they want to be taught the ethics of how to use it. They want to know not just how to use it, but how to use it in a way that's not going to be considered cheating. They want to know how to use it for critical thinking and problem solving. And so really only 5% of students said, I don't really care to be taught about how to use AI. So we know that students want this. And so there's not a lot out there though. And so that's kind of why I'm here today, is I want to show you some of the things that are out there that students can be using. You know, the key, I think, is really kind of balancing using it for intellectual and academic pursuits, and really, you know, learning first how to utilize it to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. So that's kind of the approach that Innovative Educators has taken to teach students. It's less about papers and things like that, and more about kind of like how you can use it to improve your day-to-day. And so what we've created is something called AI Literacy Essentials for students. And it is a micro-credential. It's 6 different workshops for students. Each workshop is about 15 minutes in length. And it does form a nice little impact acronym. And so the first session is going to be on kind of ethics, policy, responsible use. The next one is going to be on some practical tools and applications, some real examples. And then the third one is going to be more study skills and test prep. How can you use it to prepare for a test? And then the fourth one is going to be about presenting, so creating better presentations with AI. And then we also have one on enhancing your writing with AI. And then the last one is critical thinking and creativity with AI. Which there's so much you can do. I actually last holiday season, I did 25 days of Christmas, and AI helped me a ton coming up with the gifts that I was going to give my mom each day for that month. So that's just like a creative way that AI can be used. It's not going to impact anyone in a negative way, but there's so much you can kind of do with it. So I thought that was kind of fun. Each of these workshops that we have is in a micro-credential, so students will get a certificate for each one of those. In addition, there's a knowledge check, so a short quiz just to make sure they're grasping kind of the concepts. There's an action plan, which is an assignment that you could use with your students, either one-on-one or in a classroom setting. And then we do have 6 60-minute lesson plans to kind of help. You know, if you wanted to do an AI session with your students, you could actually do this with them. So those are all kind of built into the resource. I want to show you some of this stuff, and I'm going to chat in the chat here our free trial. So this is part of our student lingo suite, and the free trial gives you 30 days access. I know some of you have student lingo, so if you have it, just reach out to me and I can get it added for you, just so you can take a look at it on your own. Basically, the way that students get into the platform to access this micro-credential is going to be through a self-registration or single sign-on option. And let me pop out here. I'm gonna hop in here. So this is our free trial. And this is a paid thing that I'm talking about today. But if you are thinking about adding it to your services for students, I would recommend feel free to share the free trial if you want to hear what students think about the training. Like I said, we have this AI, the micro-credential, which I'm going to go into in a minute. But if you are a Student Lingo user and you have at least 12 workshops, you already have access to some of our workshops. Wait a minute, I gotta too many AIs. Yeah, here we go. So we already have these additional 4 tutorials if you are a Student Lingo member. One is on 5 tips for ethical and responsible use. One is using it as a helpful academic tool. This one's on resumes and cover letters. And then this is that AI micro-credential, which is 90 minutes in total. When students click into it, they're going to see those main courses that I mentioned. And you'll see some learning objectives here, just in terms of what they're going to get. I'll go into one so you can see what it looks like. And so I love this one because they actually pull up ChatGPT and show some of the ways that you can prompt it. It is a recorded webinar, but like I said, it's about 15 minutes in length. It does include a knowledge check, which is all tracked in the back end in terms of quiz and survey data. And then we do ask students what they think about it. And I know for Trio, anything you do, what do they say? If it's not tracked, it didn't happen. Is that what they say in Trio? I feel like I've heard my Trio friends say that. So it's a nice feature that we do track all usage, all those knowledge checks and surveys that are submitted. And so that's just like a nice resource. Would it be helpful if I showed some of one? Do you all have, are you curious enough that you want to see some video, see what it looks like? Yes, thumbs up. I like it. Okay, let's do it.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jean Mandernack from Grand Canyon University, and today we're going to talk about practical AI tools that you can use in your everyday life. AI has absolutely taken over our worlds, and so let's dive in and take a look at a few specific examples. The one place, if you haven't started using AI yet, that you need to start is using it as your own personal tutor. I know that we all have friends and we have faculty members.
So just to kind of give you a sense, and then she does some chatting in the tool itself. And by the way, these, whether you use ChatGPT or BART or, whatever, all these other AI tools, they really all kind of operate the same. It's really just preference. One thing to note, though, is ChatGPT does have a paid version. And there are some equity considerations there. The free version is not quite as good as the paid version. And so just some things to be aware of there. They're still both very good in their own right. But in terms of using it for a tutor, I don't know if I would choose ChatGPT for that. I might choose Google's version or something like that. Some of these other ones. So here's the resumes and cover letters workshop, which again, has generating some ideas and examples are built in here as well. And if you're not familiar with Student Lingo, it's just a series of workshops created for student success. Most of them are going to be college focused, but we do have a few that are great for high school. We have one called The Difference Between High School and College. We have one called all about submitting the FAFSA. But we actually in January are going to be releasing about 5 to 7 workshops for each grade from 7th grade all the way to 12th grade. So if you're a pre-college program and you're interested in having workshops online that are tracked for and meet your grant requirements, just know that we're going to be releasing a ton of new workshops coming in the new year that high schools could actually leverage. So keep your eye on that. What questions do you all have at this point before I kind of dive back in?
I'd love to hear your thoughts on letter of recommendation. So I wrote letters of recommendation prior to ChatGPT. This year I'm having, because I teach a scholarship writing class, I have students asking me for letters of recommendation, and I'm like, well, I need to update it. Let's run it through, Chat GPT and see what it kicks back. And it writes better than I do. And so I want to use it for the students' benefit because it's going to be a more glowing letter of recommendation. And I want to set them up for success. But I had already written a little letter of recommendation, right? Fully for the student the year prior, just updated the information, ran through Chat GPT. So in my opinion, it was mine, right? I
Yeah.
just had to polish it up to set the student up for success. I just did that yesterday. In a different way, it was for a soapthermist scholarship for women, and it asked certain prompts. So I basically took my information, letter of recommendation, wrote out the paragraph form to answer the questions, and ran through Chat GPT. Was about to submit it, and then right at the end, it said this cannot have any AI use or generated. I was like, oh, I wish I'd have read that first. I would have gone down this road. I had to go back, take that I originally written, put it back in there, and that's tough because I'm just thinking, man, it's I feel like the student had a better chance if it was more polished and written better. Mine's pretty good to begin with, but it's just that much better. And then it gets me into those thoughts about equity. It's like, well, I am using that free one. Maybe it's not as good as I think. And then I started thinking about, wow, what about the other people who are getting letters of recommendation from people who are using the paid for version? Their letters of recommendation are just going to be that much better. Their students have a better shot and maybe getting the scholarship, and it doesn't really jive well with me because I want what's best for my students, right? But it comes up ethical and a bit of a dilemma there.
Yeah, I mean there are, and to that point, the paid version is not as easy to be detected by the detectors, which is like, don't even get me started on that equity issue. Like the students that can pay for it get the better experience. I would say, yeah, definitely don't use it anytime that it says not to use it,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I have personally, I have a whole host of students and folks that, I mentored when I did my work in higher education, and I have used it to write letters of reference. I think the important thing is, I can't be like, write a letter of recommendation. It could be fine, but it's not going to be as personal as a good recommendation letter is, right? So the good stuff, the stuff that you really want to talk about, the strengths, the skills, I think that those things, it's really just improving the writing. I'd also say look out for the words that ChatGPT loves to use, things like mastering and I mean, once you start using a little bit, ChatGPT has, and all of them have like, they use words that we would never use in our own writing. You're kind of like, that's so over the top, or that just sounds a little weird. Like they've been mastering these tasks. Like, I'm not going to write that. That's kind of weird. So, just always proofreading anything you get. But, I'd say it's fine. I'm of the mind that like you're giving it the good stuff that it can't come up with on its own. I don't know what others
That was
think.
my take on it too.
That's
Yeah.
kind of my personal take on
Yeah.
it.
What about for the students themselves? So for instance, they're writing scholarship essays. I want what's best for them. I know they need the money to be able to continue with their education. So it's kind of high stakes. And they're answering 4 prompts for our scholarship portal, right? And, I'm in class, I can walk around and see that they're writing these out authentically. And I'm just like, man, I don't know if they run that through, whatever they can run it through to make it that much better, they're that much more competitive. So doing my due diligence, I went to the scholarship committee and just kind of asked, like, hey, what are your thoughts on AI?
Yeah.
And they were against it. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way. And I was like, okay. And then that started just growing even more questions, going like, well, why aren't we teaching it here? Why don't we have classes about it? Like, it's already here. We're using it for better or worse. Your statistics show it. Why aren't we teaching? Why aren't we part of the future? Getting on page with this. If employers want it, these are the skills students need. And so I asked, the English department. It's just been it's a big deal, a big thing. So appreciate you doing the training, and I appreciate your thoughts. I was just like, but at the end of the day, I'm the professional in the room with a bunch of students who want to earn scholarship money, and they really need it. It's high stakes for them. And they're kind of wondering, can I use Chat GPT or not, waiting for me to say something. And I've just been kind of like, mum.
I think it's risky for students to use it, primarily because they do have those AI generator checks, and I would just be nervous that it could actually do more harm. Like if they don't know that the scholarship committee is running it through that, then they could actually lose out because they used AI. I would recommend, hey, I can look at it, I can see if 2 other people I know could look at it. Have you had a
Mhm.
peer look at it? So kind of give them some alternatives. I would just get nervous. I wouldn't want them to lose out because they,
Same here.
because
Yeah.
it's not always going to be posted that they
Yeah.
can't use it, because such a strange thing is that it is so gray. Like, we all know, like, some people say use it, some say don't, but for some, they're like, oh, well, this is common sense. You don't use AI for a scholarship letter,
Mm.
and I just don't want them to get trapped with that.
Yeah, and what's tough is, and I looked at like oh gosh, the syllabus that we get, for our classes to provide, right? And I had to go back while you were talking a little bit earlier and look at it. What does my class syllabus say? Because it came from the school, right? Saying here's our policies, and in it says, of course you can't plagiarize and use other ideas. And essentially in there it says if you're going to, you have to give, credit to whoever it is, whether it's AI or not, which is totally fair. But then at the very end, it also says, but whoever's teaching the class can basically expressly state what their expectations are, which can then trump the others, right? And say like, hey, have at it, sort of thing. Like, so it's kind of talking on both sides of its mouth, at the same time.
Yeah. We did this recently with one of my nephew's essays, where we kind of put his essay in and I said, I don't want you to change anything. I don't want you to tell me how to write it. I just want you to review it. I want you to review it for grammar. I want you to review it for style, and I want you to review it for flow. And so that was actually incredibly helpful. And basically, it didn't give him anything finished, so it didn't make his work any quicker, but it did basically give them those tips. And so I do think there's a lot of ways that we could be helping our students kind of think about the ethics. And to be honest, there's not a black and white answer for a lot of these. I think it's
I think that was awfully close though. That's really good. Thank you. I will use that. Have them review it. I think that's really smart. Thank you.
great.
I think, Grace, had you had a question?
Yeah, I was just thinking, well, you guys were talking about that, because, you were talking about how to use it just to, review your work or give you some pointers, how to make it better. Like, you wrote it, it's your work, and just to make it better. And I was just thinking, if you're just using it that way and you're still just getting some pointers, basically using it as a tool, how do they know if you used AI? If it was, your work, really?
They wouldn't in that scenario. It would be more like if I wrote a paper and then I put it into Chat GPT or something and I was like, make this better. Right. And then it's going to rewrite it and it's going to make it a lot better. And it's going to probably add some things that I didn't think about. And so then it's going to have a lot more plagiarism directly from essays that is pulled from the internet, all the different sources that it's kind of using. Even a quote from a book, if I'm writing an essay about a book or something, it's going to know that, right? I didn't come up with that quote. And so now you kind of get in, was that my original idea? I mean, yes, I read the book, but I didn't think of that quote, and it gets a little sticky. So I also would say it's great for math. I know we've been talking about writing a lot, but you can also, I do a lot of freshman math as well, for high school freshman math. And so kind of being like, how do I solve for X? Show me 3 different ways, right? Because there's a lot of different ways to solve math equations. And so, yeah, your teacher is teaching you one way, but if you come up with another way that's just a little easier for you to grasp as a user, you're not going to get in trouble for that. They just want to see that you know how to do the work and that you got the right answer. So that's there's just lots of ways to kind of use it in that way as well.
Alex, when the question comes up about how would they know, and I know I had a friend that was working on their cover letter for a job, and so they had run it through with very specific feedback they were looking for. And then when they went to go run it through one of those generators, because they're also faculty, so they have access to that, was able to have it say, no AI found. So they were so excited that they'd fine-tuned in just the right way that it didn't pick it up. Is that a tool that's available to Trio programs as well, or who has access to those generators or the reviewers?
Oh, yeah. The ones that come to mind, so there is some free ones on the internet. So Grammarly actually has a text checker. that's free that you can check to see if it's like that. But a lot of schools, a lot of K-12s are using, gosh, what is it called? I'm not going to be able to think about. If I remember, Robin, I'll
okay.
send it my
That's okay.
follow-up. That's a paid one though, and I think it's more institutional. Your institutions might have it, or your high schools or middle schools might have it. So I would say if you are looking for that, I would definitely reach out to your partners. You might be able to do some kind of shared model.
Okay. And then one more question regarding the curriculum. Does it go through some of these different AI tools to see when to use that one versus this one? When you had that graphic of all the different ones, like how to know when to turn to which one?
There is one little part on that, but they're all pretty good for kind of what we're telling folks to use them for, and not me, but the presenter. So I don't think we get that nuanced at this point, but we are committed to keeping this updated as things change with AI. And we created these, I think in like September, maybe. And so we haven't had any major changes yet, but we are committed to kind of updating them as things evolve in the spring and things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Any other things before we move on? Are any of you, so it doesn't sound like most of you haven't had AI conversations come up with students necessarily.
Yeah, I definitely have, and I'm curious on your take on. So a student came to me and they're in a huff, turning in a paper late, right under the deadline, and they wanted to run it by me, and so I read it, and I was like, "Wow, that's really great! I couldn't have possibly written that myself. I think I'm a pretty decent writer." And so I just drop the mic and wait for him to talk, and he didn't want to own up to use AI, and I was like, "This is really good." I just kept prompting him, like, sort of stuff. And he kind of came down and just said, yeah, I used AI, da, da, da. I was at a pinch. I've been working a ton, da, 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 sort of stuff like that. And I was like, well, are you going to give credit? Where credit's due? And how are you going to navigate this? Like, what's the professor's expectation? Da, 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 sort of stuff. And he said, and then, I was like thinking he hadn't turned it in yet. And then all of a sudden he's like, I kind of already turned it in. I was like, oh man, next thing you know, he's in the dean of students office. And basically, I can't remember. He got a D in the class or something because so anyways, they politically worked it out to wherever. But it's just been the forethought of my mind. That's where I was just like, wow, so it's punitive, must have written the syllabus, should have read the syllabus, all that sort of stuff, shouldn't have done it. Obviously, clearly plagiarized. I get that. But my question is like, I wonder if there are other forward-thinking institutions. I was at the U of O many years ago, 2006, and we were talking about AI, Ray Kurzweil's book Singularity, talking about this is coming, folks. Like, are we going to be prepared for it? And it was just really like thought provoking. This is the future. And now we're here. I just got to think my alma mater is probably on this and like has classes about it and teaching how to do all. Have you worked with any institutions that they're like, yes, we're embracing AI. This is now like, this is what the job market wants. We want to set our students up for success.
Yeah, I think it was 2 months ago, Arizona State University actually rolled out campus-wide use for ChatGPT for their students. So it's a partnership, it's a trial, they're trying to navigate that. So, and we definitely have institutions that have kind of adopted it in the sense that they have a policy on it. They've really spelled out what students can and cannot do. But I do think you bring up a good point just about students getting in trouble. Depending on where you are, using AI to write a paper or even help write a paper could be equivalent to them stealing a test, cheating off another test. And so if we do nothing else for our students, it's just letting them know the risks of kind of not knowing the rules. Like all of a sudden you're going to get a 0 on a paper because you didn't know that you weren't allowed to collaborate in this way. So I do think that that's something, irregardless of if you adopt, an AI literacy training for students, et cetera, to start having these conversations. What is, asking them, what is your use with AI? And, what do you know about it at your school? Are you allowed to use it? Are you not allowed? Have you heard? So really getting students to advocate for themselves, which I know you guys do a lot of anyway, helping students be advocates for themselves. So yeah, those are my thoughts there, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me reshare here. That was really great. Thanks for participating and sharing your guys' experiences and thoughts. So we do track usage for you. I think I mentioned that. We monitor kind of like which workshops are popular, give you student feedback, quantitative and qualitative. I did see a question about the free trial. It's 30 days. At the 30 days, you just lose access. You don't like, we don't have to like take a credit card or anything like that. So it's not like, you actually have to really try to buy things from us. We don't just like kind of set you up and all of a sudden you have a subscription and you're like, oh, I need to cancel this. We also don't sell direct to students. We only sell to programs like yours and educational institutions like high schools and middle schools and colleges. And so, yeah, you can kind of hop in there. If you need more time in the trial to explore, for example, if you signed up but didn't get a chance to get around to it, you can just reach out to me directly and I can set that. What it's not going to give you access to is the back end. So you won't be able to see reporting and things like that. You'll just be able to see it as if you were an end user. So all of this to say, we do have a special partnership with the Oregon Trio Association. And normally the cost for AI literacy is like $2,500 a year, which is unlimited students, and that's what you would pay. But through the Oregon Trio Association, oh, let me hold on. I thought I had this pulled up, but I don't. We have kind of a special partnership, and the more Trio programs that kind of participate, the kind of the more you get. Right now, I think we have 4 participating Oregon Trio Association or Trio organizations. But basically, as an organization, we offer like orientation for Trio online. Everything we do is online. We have Student Lingo, which is our student success workshops. Go to Knowledge, which is professional development for Trio staff, and then Tutor Lingo, which is tutor training for your tutors. So it teaches tutors to teach students how to learn. But basically, if you were to come on board with any of our services, then you would get the AI literacy for free as part of that. So Kim, I'm looking at you. Because you're a Student Lingo member, we would be willing to kind of offer this to you as a value add for at least a year. But we could also do any kind of smaller package. This is for 12 workshops, but one workshop's like $625 a year. So just looking to kind of expand our partnerships and give you kind of that value add if you were to come on. That's going to be running through December. So if it is something that you're interested, if you're thinking about, you know, any of our services, if you've heard about us before, it is a good time to be thinking about it just because we have that kind of special opportunity. Would you say anything else, Robin, about our partnership? I don't know if you would add to that.
No, I don't really think I have anything to add to that, but I wanted you to clarify again the pricing on this certificate and how that worked. It's not per student, it's per program and
Per program, yeah.
Okay.
So it's $2,500, but if you just wanted to purchase it, then I did get approval from my supervisor today that we could offer it to Trio for $1,500. If you don't have any of our other services. And Robin, we could count that as part of like an Oregon Trio. Like that would be the 5th one for Student Lingo. So that would be, yeah, that would be the 5th one. So we'd get that special pricing that everybody gets. So not sure if it's of interest. I don't want to like, you know, bully you guys into getting anything, but if you do have a need for some of these services, I would say
feel like institutions are just not moving very fast, and I feel like our students are particularly vulnerable to be targets of being spread so thin and trying to figure out a way to get things done. And so that's why I was excited to see this service being offered through you, to see if there's a way that we could make sure our students were at the forefront of knowing how to best utilize this in alignment with their campus policies, but just to make sure that they don't become targets like Shane was talking about, of trying to take the fast way because of being spread so thin. So
yeah. I will leave you all with this. We have here, let me pull it up, my contact information. If you are interested or want access to the free trial, I would say, here's my contact information. That's my cell phone number and my email. Feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to get you set up with the trial if you want to just check it out and see if the AI or any of the workshops could be helpful for your students. And then also happy to send you some of the AI specific training that you all could benefit from personally or in your roles. So take down my info. Would love to connect and get you some resources free or otherwise that could help you in this area. But thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Alex. I had copied the link that you put in the chat. Is it fine for me to send that out with this recording for the colleagues that aren't here today?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then Kim, don't forget, you can